There were times where, he was like, we can't make the fuel bill to get the airplanes to fly, goes to
Well, the
Vegas
casino story that
and
saved the
gambles it.
company. That's the best one.
And then one they don't talk about as much is when they couldn't make the loan payments on the Lears, on the jets, they would park and lock them and hide them in hangars so that the repo man couldn't find them. Welcome to Founder Mode. We're back, just Jason and I today. So we've got a bunch of interesting topics to rip through and, wanted to kind of take a moment to sort of run through kind of a fast action sort of, we got about 6, 7 things we're going to run through here and
Let's do it.
see where we land up.
You got a lot of stuff you want to talk about. The first thing on our list is founder schedule management, and you have quite the system. How do you do it?
Yeah, so I have a series of EAs that kind of work overlapping schedules, kind of like so my sleep schedule starts with my sleep schedule, which is, as I would.
It's on your calendar. What time does it say you have to start sleeping?
But yeah, typically try to get it to bed by 8 or at least start the wind down, no meetings, no anything by 8, and then usually get up at 5. And what I do lately, I've loved this new thing. So the Whoop has this feature for the alarm. So I've turned all the alarms. I just use the Whoop thing where it's like when you get 100% sleep, it wakes you and you set it at 5:30, but it wakes you anytime between 4:30 and 5:30.
In the
So it's
light sleep window?
When it detects that you've kind of achieved 100% of your sleep need based on its kind of algo. So it's been interesting. And so I would say most of the time I just wake up on my own before that. And then I'm already having coffee or whatever.
Yeah,
and
when's
the alarm
first
goes off
meeting
at
though,
5:30.
typically?
First meetings typically never before 6, but sometimes I have meetings at 5. My sort of back and forth, so I work with a lot of folks on the East Coast, and so I try to do all my East Coast meetings kind of in that 5 to 6, 7 range. Then the West Coast stuff kicks off around 9 typically.
I use a similar feature on the 8 Sleep to the Whoop, which is it vibrates the bed just my side.
Yeah.
But it can wake up my wife, which is problematic. But it doesn't do the maybe it does, and I just don't know the feature, but it doesn't do the 100% sleep, achievement of your needed sleep. But it does the window where it's like
it tries to find a window
phase, so it will wake you up now. So that's not bad. So you have a lot of systems and tech to support you in this, and I do as well. For people that are not, aid to the gills with every smart gadget attached to their body, what's the easy stuff to do?
I mean, the easy stuff is just, and again, I think it depends on your personality, but I like sort of kind of that, to me, getting it up in the morning and kind of focusing on meetings and getting the sort of all the synchronous stuff done, I find works best for me. And so I try to get all the synchronous stuff done by, 12, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock kind of local time, worst case. And then sort of the afternoon is I work out, then I do a lot of async stuff. But that's kind of typically my schedule. And I come back on for another hour, 6 p.m. sometimes for
You have
meetings.
a ideal day calendar map, right? Like the perfect day.
The perfect day.
I feel like
perfect week.
Have you done a newsletter on the perfect day, perfect week?
I don't think so.
We need one on that, and then maybe we can link out to something from this episode's notes, because I think it would be a cool thing to post about, and basically people be able to use that as inspiration to build their perfect schedule. Because what you're describing is this idea that I do my best kind of meeting stuff in the mornings, and then I have this kind of afternoon lull where my energy is not at that level. I'm not going to do a good job in a meeting, and then I re-engage before bed to kind of clear out the email inbox.
Yeah, I mean, and yours is similar, but flipped a little bit.
I flip it, yeah, because I can't do the morning meetings. I do the deep work in the mornings, and then I do the meetings in the afternoon, because my energy is higher in the morning, and I feel like I have to knock out actual work because my brain doesn't work as well in the afternoon.
Yeah. I think part of it's just being somewhat intentional about how you want your week to go.
100%.
And you're so I mean, literally the idea is just you just basically start with an empty calendar and block out exactly what you want every day, all 7 days of the week to look like in the perfect week. Hey, I want to work these hours, I want to be off these hours, I want to meet with people, I want to spend time with friends, family, etc. And you sort of have that sort of layout, which is, kind of interesting. And so I think for me, it gives a guide to folks on my team of when I do want to have meetings. And obviously, rules are meant to be broken. And so no week is the perfect week. It's kind of like the, the perfect workout or the perfect whatever, right? You're always sort of striving for that perfect thing. Or in flying, we always talk about the perfect flight. No flight's perfect. You always have little things that go wrong or are different. But the idea of sort of defining what perfect looks like so that you can always be sort of tuning and optimizing for it.
Yeah, I think that's smart, and having you can't achieve a goal if you don't have one. So
Yeah.
it makes sense to like
Yeah.
set a target. You're never going to get it perfect, but like let's get as close as we can. It's like the idea of a good stretch goal. So just to kind of put the button on the schedule bit, I think it's important to like say out loud, like, how did we get here? Right. So this is maybe our third kind of not no show, but like schedules get messed up. People can't do the podcast. It's all good. You and I don't stress about it too much, but I think there's been two flavors so far, and I want to talk about them and get your take on them. So flavor one, which has happened more actually, is I work for a big company and I thought it would be no problem for me to do this podcast, but turns out it's a huge problem and I can't do it and I have to get approval before I can even say anything on the record.
Yeah.
And then
And I
thing
think a
two,
lot of those
yeah, go ahead.
surprisingly are kind of self-imposed,
Oh,
right?
really?
Yeah. Cause I think like when I've been at big companies, you there's a judgment call of like, do you need approval? Do you not need approval? And I think it depends on the individual, like of how they
It's
want
like
to push
risk
it.
tolerance for internal, like
There's a
ask
risk
for
tolerance, but
forgiveness
also
versus
just
ask
like
for permission.
ask for forgiveness, ask for permission thing. But I think there's also like so I think it's interesting when people pick why, and it's just like, is it because they want to say the wrong thing, or they're worried that they're going to hit something that's off key? And I also think that I think there's a personality type of people that are like, well, I'm more valuable to the company than the company's valuable to me. And it's like, that's cool. If that's what gets, rocks it out, then I'm just going to go find another job. And
Yeah,
I've always, and to a fault, like to be fair, when
you're that
I've been at
guy.
big companies, I'm definitely the person that's like,
I mean, there's some privilege in there, right? Like you've gotten to a certain level where like maybe earlier in your career, or maybe you've always been that guy. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, I think I've always been that pushing the limits. I think even younger, when I was in the early in my career, I'd still like do a
Yeah.
great job, but also like when I see something that just looks weird, I'm like, that doesn't feel right. Like that is
Yeah.
sort of had that like slightly rebellious sort of mindset of like, I don't know.
I think there's a lesson in there, right? Because we just had a guest on who works at a big company who was like, yeah, no, I'm just going to do it. And then we had two before that were like, oh, no, I can't do it, right? One even showed up to the recording and was like, hey, I just realized like I can't do this. And I was like, wow, that's a last minute change. So I just wonder, like, do we like what's the lesson if you work at a big company but you've got that founder mode mindset? Like what's the takeaway?
Yeah, I think there's just different ways to express it. And I think
Yeah.
like, yeah, I mean, again, it is a privilege to be able to be like, well, if this doesn't work out, I'll go get a different job. And
Yeah.
I'm comfortable with that sort of risk. I think there's also people that roll stop signs, right? And I
Right.
think,
Like what risks are you willing to take versus not?
yeah. And I
Well, I think this
also think,
applies, right? Doesn't it
yeah,
apply to like if you're building something inside of that big company, like how
yeah.
far out on a limb are you going to go?
Yeah. And I think if you think about more than likely the founders of the big companies they work for have taken risks that far exceed that,
100%.
right? I mean, the one I keep reading about recently, Fred Smith passed away, founder of FedEx.
Yeah.
My dad worked there, and got to interact with him. And I actually worked there when I was in college for a little bit, on the loading boxes on the
Amazing.
trucks at LAX. And there were times where, he was like, we can't make the fuel bill to get the airplanes to fly, goes to
Well, the
Vegas
casino story that
and
saved the
gambles it.
company. That's the best one.
And then one they don't talk about as much is when they couldn't make the loan payments on the Lears, on the jets, they would park and lock them and hide them in hangars so that the repo man couldn't find them. So I mean,
That's a contrast from I don't think I can do this podcast.
yeah, there was just risks and risks upon ever. And so like,
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, he probably wasn't doing a podcast on what they were doing. So I think there is a sense that like the world's much more open,
Yeah.
and there's a vulnerability that we even take to do stuff like this, or people take to speak, online and make it public. And yeah, I mean, there's been some people say harsh stuff and like
Yeah, I
it's the
mean, there's
kind of kid in
cancel
the
culture,
playground
right?
stuff.
Like if you
Yeah.
step in it, like you or I say something really dumb here, we're done, right? Like it's over for us.
Yeah.
The online mob with the pitchforks could come for us.
Yeah. Or like, I mean, Chamath had a quote earlier. He was like, if you're gonna pick a personality or be online and want to like have this, you're gonna sort of have to accept that the positive and negatives all is net positive. Like it's all just the energy that they're
Yeah, it's the
talking about you. Like,
there's no bad press thing,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
Not sure I
Yeah.
fully agree. I think, but like,
I'm
there's a
with you.
view.
I don't think that's
Yeah.
100% true. And Chamath
Yeah.
is funny to say it because he's the classic I'm in the arena and man, did he get roasted or
Yeah.
does he get regularly roasted? So I don't know.
Yeah. But
But
he's pretty comfortable with it and smart
yeah,
guy.
and exactly. Like as long as you own it, right? So
Yeah.
the second reason that people miss, which is today, is like somebody's sick. It's all good. Like if you get sick, like I think that's the other thing. If you're a founder, like we talk a lot about the recharge the batteries, do the things to take care of your health,
Yeah.
like so that you can grind, so that you can hustle. Like if you're sick, don't show up. Like get well, and
Yeah.
like And I know you and I try to live that, but I think some people are just like, "Nah, I'm just gonna power through this." It's like, no, that's where it goes real sideways.
Yeah, you've heard the whole like healthy man wants everything, sick man wants one thing, right? Which is just the
Yeah,
half-back,
health
right?
is
So when you're
wealth, man.
yeah, it's the literally it's the bottom of the pyramid of whatever foundation you're building it. It's like, if you're not healthy or you're not feeling like your full self, like nothing else built on top of that will be solid or as solid as it would have been if you took care of the first thing first.
Yeah, I did an appointment at this really cool clinic. I'll just give him a shout out because it's a buddy's company. It's called Myo. They used to be called Myo Detox. They're in Brentwood. They just opened a location in New York. Really cool business. It's like the future of physical therapy is the way to think about it. And the PT that I went and saw there said to me, you come into this world and you leave this world with only one thing, your body. And I was like, oh man, that's good. It's so
Very
true.
philosophical.
So good. And he's like young guy, just kind of gave me the truth. And I was like, I need to hear that. Like, we need to think about that more because there's so much ephemeral, like, oh man, I gotta build this piece of software right now. And it's like, well, you can't take it with you. So let's switch gears to like a segment I like to call, and I would love to figure out a way to weave into to all the founder modes, but I'm going to selfishly just do it this one because we have the time. You and I is like the new thing of the week, the tech of the week, like the thing that I'm playing with that I'm excited about that I'm geeking out on. And I'm behind. I'm like kind of a middle of the curb on adoption on these, but I'm pretty stoked. So I got the Meta Ray-Ban,
Oh, sick.
the Wayfarers. It's currently playing music. It just started playing music in my ear, and I didn't tell it to do that, but that was cool. These are wild, right? Like they don't look bad. I've heard that the chunkier your glasses, the smarter you look too. So I'm pretty excited about what this is doing for my IQ score.
What's been like the craziest use case? Like, so, I mean, I've seen
Yeah.
all these versions of this. I've tried like the old Google Glass, like we had HoloLens,
Yeah.
I've tried a ton of them. For me, I've never like moved into an everyday, glass hole kind of model, but like, I'm curious, like what the modern day use case is for like a great set of these.
I have a few use cases that I'm enjoying right now. So I have two little kids, as you know, and we went to the beach on Sunday the other day. Yeah, the 5-year-old, she was, like, just being super brave, running into the ocean, crashing into the waves, and I'm like, "I'm not gonna bring my phone out there to take videos because if I drop that in the ocean, it's gone." It's not even about the water, it's just, like, waterlogged, they do well with the water inside of them now, but you literally drop that thing and the wave the current just pulls it back out and it's gone. So it's like, "But I will wear these, they're on my head pretty good, I can kinda flip them around, they don't really fall off." And I got this beautiful video. Maybe we can cut it into this if we end up, releasing this. It's just her like just jumping and laughing and giggling in the waves, and then she actually gets knocked out by one, gets back up and goes back at it, and
Amazing.
it's beautiful. Like the videos are a little oversaturated, but like it's something I wouldn't otherwise capture with my phone, and it's a different vantage point. It's very cool. The hard thing is like my head is now a gimbal, so I have to be careful. Like I'm not shooting like this. That's one use case. The other one that's just interesting is the Meta AI that's on board, right? So you have, and this is built on their model, the Llama LLM, and their version of it, right? Pretty cool. Like I can text, I can do a lot. The speakers are in the frames, and so I can hear my
Oh, what
text
was
being
that?
read to
There
me.
was the earbone. What was the guys that did the old
Jawbone or whatever.
Jawbone? Yeah,
Yeah.
Jawbone had the like. So it's that sort of tech where it's like
Yeah,
the
it's very
things laying
cool, and,
against.
like,
Okay.
if I listen to it in a low enough volume, people around me can't hear, so I could be listening to music, it could be reading me a book, like, it could be doing lots of cool stuff, so that's cool, and I can set the speed it reads at, and you and I both like to talk fast, I like to listen fast too, I have it, like, on 1.5x, so it speed reads my text
Yeah.
messages. So those are 2 use cases that are very cool, and then I ordered and I'm getting, like, this weekend, the Oakley ones, and so, like, for going on a run, I can imagine, like, just taking my Apple Watch with the cellular, no phone, and these guys, assuming that the little pair I haven't tested, I don't have them yet, but, like, going on a run and having music playing in them and being able to, like, respond to text and, like, just
Yeah.
have a little bit of connectivity, but not too much
Got it.
and not have my gear on me. So I think the products are still early in terms of what they can do. And like the
Yeah.
Orion thing that Meta previewed is really awesome. And like I'm excited for when I can have some amount of like data on the lens and some more like stuff going on with my hands, like the virtual kind of what the Vision Pros do today, but without the crazy embarrassing headset. Like
Yeah.
just a nice pair of glasses is kind of the future use case that I think is going to be incredible.
I like it.
What
I
do you
like
got?
it.
What's the tech of the week for you? What's on your mind?
Dude, it's funny. You'll laugh. It's the opposite. It's like no, non-tech, low tech. But
Unplug.
yeah, it's super unplugged. So it's this, have you ever, it's this Kelly Starlet. He did like this stretching guy, like super into like, kind of health and like, mobility is kind of his thing, and wrote a bunch of books on mobility.
Okay.
He was on Tim Ferriss's podcast where I first heard about him. I mean, this could be over 10 years ago.
Okay.
But they have this woman, Jill Miller, I think is another big yoga stretching person. So they have like this tune-up fitness thing where they sell a bunch of like massage balls. Cause I was like, you have like these, like a lacrosse ball, right? You've put like, use the lacrosse ball or like a foam roller.
Yeah.
But they came out with this whole set of like different size kind of lacrosse ball like trigger points things, and you kind of like release, and it's been insane. And so it's dumb, but like it's incredible. Is if you take like 2 massage balls, or these like they're slightly softer, I would say, than a lacrosse ball, but you put them in a net, like it's a fabric net, and then you tighten it, and then you use that to roll on like arms or like on your desk or legs, and it's like insane. So it's not just the like
Does it have the same kind of like
yeah, it's got the
hurts so
same massage
good
ball where it's
feel
pushing,
as the
but then it's got this net kind of feature.
Oh
And
wow.
it's like
Yeah.
these balls,
Yeah.
but you put them in
Like
this net,
balls.
and it's like insane. And so like and so you end up putting them in this thing, and you roll this like on your arm
And
or
if
your
you
foot.
scroll
Like it's
back
like
up, if you do this enough, you look like the guy in that picture, right? You just get super jacked, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah,
And then
perfect.
they have some like there. That's
Yeah.
you've got all the features. So this
Yeah.
is doing the whole thing.
Amazing. All right.
Yeah.
So
So
the
to me,
non-tech of the week is the tune-up stuff.
yeah. But it's like they
Love
have
it.
a larger one, smaller, different sizes.
So you just sent a newsletter, Kevin, about the idea of interviewing somebody who you've actually worked with before and kind of bringing folks, they sometimes get called boomerangs, but like working with the same people over and over again, the same company, different companies, like bringing people back, basically. Give us the like TLDR on that newsletter and like the concept and how you think about this stuff.
Yeah, it was funny. I was trying to find a word for it because when you say boomerang, it's always like, hey, this person worked at Microsoft or Google or Facebook, left the company and
Now
came
they're
back.
coming
Like
back.
it's
Yeah,
very common.
it's the wrong word for this concept because it's not
Yeah,
just about that.
Yeah, and so I was like, what's the word for like a boomerang to like work with the same team that you worked at a startup or something? And I was trying to search for that. But the basic idea is that it's a guy we worked with at one of our previous startups, had worked at different jobs in different places, kind of caught a parallel path. And then, came back to work with us again, which is kind of exciting. And so there it's like, you've worked with this person, maybe 8-10 years ago, they've worked, and had a bunch of really great, sort of career progression over the last 8 or so years. And then you're like less about interviewing like, oh, can they code, or are they a hard worker, or are they a good person? Like it's really just like what's kind of changed in your life? What's up with you? Like what are you working on these days? Like how have I changed? How have they changed? And then, what's kind of the opportunity that you're working on, and kind of why now? And so the conversation and the interview was very different and somewhat surprising to the individual, but also even as I thought about it, I was like, oh, I didn't even think that there would be like, there's no interview questions. Cause like, I already know I can vouch for your work ethic and ability. Yeah. And it was more just like, does where we both are in sort of life make this sort of connection?
Does it make sense to do it again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think that was the thing. And so I think that's a positive case, worked out. A gentleman joined, has been crushing it and incredible. I think the opposite of that, and I'd love to hear your perspective, is like cases where like that doesn't work, where it's like somebody joins and you're like, I definitely don't want them to come again.
Yeah.
And I think there's a bunch of,
or worse, like not only do I not want them to come again, but they have to go now too.
Yeah, I mean, letting people go is always
tough. That's like the worst case. That's
letting people go is always tough, but necessary. Yeah. I think the more common case is, when you do start a new company, my partner and I, JJ, have done this now 7-8 times over like 20 some years. You have a lot, you're like, hey, I heard you're starting a new company, and you get a lot of inbound from people, and figuring out like, sometimes it just doesn't, there's not a good fit for that person and where they've gone. And I think one of the classic ones that we see in engineering is, really strong individual contributor, made it to management, and then it's like, now I want to join your team as a manager. And we're like, well, no, we're back to the startup mode.
We need you as the IC engineer that we know you as.
Yeah, and some people don't make that transition, both practically, they're like, no, I'm ready to come in and be the leader. And you're like, no, we don't need leaders. We need everybody with shovelers and working like I'm coding again. Or, that's kind of what happens when you go to the small company. So I think
this is what you mean. You're talking about where they're at in their life and their journey and what they want. Who's your crew that you bring with you? I like Boomeride. It's a portmanteau of boomerang and ride or die. So that's the one I'm going with. We're gonna coin Boomeride. It also sounds like, okay, boomer. So then the story I'll tell very briefly is my very first startup, I did this. I was a boomerang, not a boomeride. I have many boomerides that come with me to the various companies I've been at. I have one person in particular. She's like a rock star product designer who not only was with me at the first startup, Heal, came with me to the next one, Soothe, came with me to Headspace. She did all three. Yeah. So all three of the startups I was full-time inside of. And then when I
Yeah.
started consulting, she would kind of pick up consulting projects too with
So
me. So
good.
she's like 4 times. She's the most ride or die, and she's awesome and super talented. And I'd hire her again in a heartbeat, which is exactly what you're describing. And then I was the boomerang with my first startup where I left actually to chase a girl. I went and chased my now wife to go get her. I left the company and I went, on the other side of the country, chased her around a bit, and then was brought back in to that same company. And the short version of that story is my co-founder and CEO was an interesting character, and him and his wife were the founders of the company, and I was their kind of retroactive co-founder, employee number one. And so it was a very interesting dynamic. And just call back to the beginning of the episode where we were like, we can say some stuff here and maybe get ourselves canceled. I won't give the full story,
Not
but
worth
what
it.
I will say is that it was a very much my first startup, big time roller coaster. I went there, I left, I came back, would not do again with that group of people, or probably the whole leave a company, come back to it boomerang thing. Not for me. Lots of scar tissue on that one. But I think the learning is like, it's really hard to make the return trip work when it's the same company. And so the difference between these two concepts are bringing people back in that have left. They left for a reason, whether you let
Yeah.
them go or they quit. There's a reason they left, and maybe they're at a different place in their journey. But I think it's kind of like putting people on a PIP. Like,
Yeah.
a lot of them never make it out, and so it's a very rare case that the boomerang thing works well from my personal experience and then others I've seen. And then the boomeride thing, ultimately, like, you know the people that are good, you've worked with them a long time, and those are the ones you bring along with you, and that's your crew. And sometimes people kind of fall off the boat,
Yeah.
and maybe they get back on, but maybe not.
Yeah. I mean, I think some people get off because they want to ride a different train or they want to go somewhere else. So, I mean, we've seen people say, hey, I want to go do a different startup. I want to do my own startup.
Yeah.
And then I think, especially if you've seen teams that have had successes, that forks to multiple paths. Now there's multiple trains to go ride. And so I think the question is, oh, I rode a different train. I want to come back and ride this one. And so I think that is also something we've seen kind of with our, kind of like extended crew across various companies of people, founding companies, starting companies, and joining as founders or joining as, early employees, and then vice versa coming back, which has kind of been cool.
So, hey, Kevin, what were the 5 takeaways for you from this one?
Yeah, so I think it was really quick. It was define your perfect week. The big company's constraints are sort of self-imposed often. Health is sort of that foundation of performance. And then boomerang versus boomer ride. And then finally, this sort of tech versus non-tech obsessions of the week.
Yeah, this is a great one. Remember to subscribe, like, share, comment if you loved hearing from just me and Kevin, or you want more guests and not us. We won't take it personally, but please share this with the founders in your life who need to tune in.
Awesome. Well, define your perfect week, take calculated risks, keep your boomer rides close, and never underestimate the power of health or smart glasses.